ਤੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਣੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. If anyone wants to ask any questions in English as well, I'd be happy to answer in English. Si vous avez des questions en français aussi, je vais répondre aux questions en français. And so I'll just give you a quick opening. We saw the platform from Mr. Trudeau come out today, and I made a comment outside with the media, and I want to share that with you as well. This election is about who's in it for you, who's going to fight for you, who's got your back. And governments in Ottawa have for a long time worked for those at the very top, and it's made life harder for everyone else. Mr. Trudeau has now turned his back again on families. He's walked away from pharmacare. Everyone, all the experts have said pharmacare is the only way to go forward to do it is universal, and he's walked away from that and told families there's no help on the way. He's turned his back on housing. He's investing 19% less than Harper on housing. And for students who are facing student debt, he's charging interest on that debt, $3 billion over the past 4 years. And instead, for corporations, he waived and forgave $6 billion of loans in 1 year. So that's a contrast. He's telling students that he's going to continue to profit off their backs. Then ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਨ ਮਸਲੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਧੋਖਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਾਰਮਾ ਕੇਅਰ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਖਰਚਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਧੋਖਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਤੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਵਿਆਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਚਾਰਜ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਮਸਲਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਖਾਸ ਮਦਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਤਿੰਨ ਮਸਲੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਧੋਖਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਆਪਸ਼ਨ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਤੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਚੂਜ਼ ਕਰਨ, ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਮੌਕੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਲੜੇ, ਆਮ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਲੜੇ, ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਹਿੰਗਾਈ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਟੈਕਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਹੋਰ ਨਵੇਂ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਲ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਆਪਾਂ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਖਰਚਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਢਾਂਚੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਲੋਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਵਿਆਜ ਆ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ। ਸੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਸ਼ਨ 'ਚ ਤਕੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਅਮੀਰਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ। ਆਪਣੀ ਇਹ ਮੇਨ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਪੁੱਛੋ।
Jagmeet Singh ji, ਮੇਰਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ, it's about your announcement today that you're going to spend $100 million towards gang violence in whole Canada. Last time Liberals announced 327 and we didn't get enough money in Surrey or anywhere else. So is it just an election stunt or are you real?
Yeah, I'm committed. Our commitment right now is $100 million for youth programs specifically. We'll have other initiatives to tackle gang violence broadly, but specifically for youth violence or youth programs, we want to invest $100 million. The way experts tell us, young people need better mentoring, need better connections to the options that are available for them. They need more hope, they need more supports. We want to provide those supports for young people. We also want to tackle one of the elements of organized crime that is fueling the violence, which is money laundering. And so we've got a specific plan to tackle money laundering. And that plan is to tackle the RCMP department that does not have any specific department funded for tackling money laundering. We want to fund that. We also want to put in place a national registry so you can't hide your money with anonymous numbered companies. People have to disclose who's the beneficiary. This will help us crack down on organized crime.
No one is talking about the port police. Criminals have free hand on our ports, Delta Port, Vancouver Port. We used to have a port police. Seattle has. They have 130 officers, 7 boats, 11 dogs, and we have nothing. So criminals will ship the stuff to Seattle or Vancouver, you can imagine, right?
Yes.
So no party is talking about port police. And if we can't control ports, we can't control fentanyl. We can't control opiates and overdoses, and no one is talking about it.
So we've talked about increasing funding for our customs officers, who are the ones that the ones that are responsible for making sure when anything is brought in across the border, those are the officers that are responsible for being the ones to be the front line of defense. We want to increase those investments. We've seen them cut under Harper. The same cuts have remained with Mr. Trudeau. We want to invest more in the customs officers who deal with making sure our borders are protected. They need to be there. And when you're talking about specifically in the port case, that's one of the areas where we need to be as vigilant as possible, because that is a weak point where there could be entry of things that we don't want in Canada, like fentanyl, in some cases handguns, and other contraband that we don't want to come into Canada.
Thank you.
Mr. Jagmeet Singh,
Ji.
right on this fentanyl and overdose case.
Ji.
You've always been maintaining that the Trudeau government should declare national emergency on
Yes.
this, and then you also wanted regulation on the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
What's your stand now to form the next federal government?
Yeah, so first off, we want public health emergency still, that's the number one step. We want to hold those pharmaceutical companies that are responsible for distributing the opioids that people become addicted to be held to account. In the states, they've been charged, or there's been lawsuits, and they have been charged as well, that have been found to be successful to find that they were responsible for the deaths because of the lack of proper advice or information provided around the risks to potential addiction, and that information was not provided adequately, and so that's why they were found culpable. We want to make sure that happens in Canada as well. The other thing we want to do is we want to respond to people differently. I was a criminal defense lawyer, so I dealt with clients. I had clients who were charged with personal possession, who were addicted, they had mental health issues, they had poverty struggles. And these three problems that they're faced with were not criminal problems. These were healthcare problems. These were social justice problems. So I want to respond to the crisis with compassion and care and healthcare to save lives. Instead of putting them in jail, let's find ways to give them the help they need.
Just saying on the environment, the BNSF railway, which goes from Washington State to Vancouver, passed through Semiahmoo First Nation, White Rock, and South Surrey. There's a push from the local community down there to have that railway relocated due to the number of dangerous goods, oil, gas, coal that goes through there constantly. Do you have a stance on this railway, a plan?
I haven't looked at that particular file to give you a specific position on that file, but I can tell you broadly speaking, we have to do a far better job in making sure we work with communities that are impacted by projects like railroads or pipelines, so that their communities aren't threatened, they aren't faced with problems, they aren't faced with challenges without any solutions. And so this is an example of perhaps a historic mistake that was made that put a community in the line of maybe dangerous goods. So this is an example of how decisions have been made in the past that haven't respected Indigenous communities or communities that might be threatened by particular danger, and how we have to do a better job of making decisions that respect the communities that are impacted.
What is your policy for gun control lobby? How you will control them?
We'll stand up when need be. We've said very clearly, if a city makes a decision, like Surrey, for example, or Toronto, which has already made this request, to ban a handgun or any particular, if they identify a danger and they want to have the powers to ban it, have been long called for. It's been about a year and a half where I wrote a letter saying we should give the municipality the power to legislate, to give them the legislative powers to ban handguns if they choose to do so. We need to make sure that we're vigilant in protecting Canadians and making good decisions around gun policies. And this is one example of giving the power to a municipality to make that decision and giving them the right to do so.
Liberal says that they're going to ban the military strike weapons, as well as they're going to give power to the municipalities to ban those weapons. What do you think?
Yeah, so we've called for this power for municipalities to ban handguns for over a year, and they haven't listened. So now, right before an election, they're acting now. They could have done this a year ago if they really wanted to. They had the power, they had the majority, and they didn't. So that's my concern, that they haven't acted, but I support it. And in respective weapons that are designed to hunt people, that's not in line with those who make the lifestyle choice. They're hunting. They want to have firearms for their lifestyle, or for Indigenous communities, it's a way of life as well. That's a separate issue. But those type of weapons that are specifically designed just for humans, that have been linked to other incidents of violence in other jurisdictions, I support the idea of limiting their use and limiting their access.
Dr. My question is regarding electoral reforms.
Yes.
Trudeau was talking about electoral reforms in 2015, but then he was quiet. What would you do? That's my part A of the question. Part B is that you've been saying a lot that in a minority situation you won't be supporting Scheer.
Yes.
So what does it mean? That you are not sure about your success or something? What is it?
Yes, I'll answer both questions, thank you. So first question, the federal committee that studied this question, they went around all of Canada and met with people, got thousands of testimony, thousands of deputations around what people wanted came up with the result that the vast majority, the overwhelming majority, were in favor of proportional representation federally. So what I would do is, based on that finding, and the finding that many Canadians don't feel like their vote counts, they vote but it doesn't get reflected, and also we've seen many examples where less than the majority of Canadians vote for a party, but it gets all the power. So last two governments in a row, with Conservatives and with Liberals, they got 39% of the vote, but they got 100% of the power. That's unfair. It takes away the voice of people. So I would put in place proportional representation immediately as a New Democrat when I have the position to do so, and do it without a referendum, and run that for 2 terms, 2 election cycles, and then give people a chance to say if they like the system or not. It's a system that will allow people to have more choice, give power and vote, give power and voice to people, and make sure that their vote counts. Then on the second question, I've ruled out very clearly working with Mr. Scheer because we don't have any alignment. As it stands, he's someone that believes in cutting services, cutting healthcare. He doesn't believe in making universal medication coverage available. He doesn't believe in investing in housing. He doesn't even think that there's a healthcare or a environmental crisis. So for all the reasons, he doesn't support the rights of women. He doesn't support the rights of minority communities. For all these reasons, I've said I can't work with someone like that, and that's very clear. But I'm still running to become Prime Minister, and I'm still running to form government, but I wanted to make it clear who I couldn't work with.
Dr. Khan? Yes, this is just a supplementary to that. If the situation comes to that, if there's a minority government and you have already ruled out support to the Conservatives. So I would just like to know what would be the 3 main issues that you would like to put forward for support to the
3 issues that I've really been championing is housing, investments in housing, ending speculation with the foreign buyers tax federally, clamping down on money laundering with official federal registry, as well as RCMP unit dedicated to tackling money laundering. So building housing is a big one. Building 500,000 new affordable homes and rental subsidies. The second one would be healthcare. We want to expand immediately to include medication coverage for everyone, as well as dental care coverage for 4.2 million Canadians. So those are 2 priorities with healthcare. And then finally, we believe that the environment is crucial to tackle the environmental crisis, so young people have a future where they're not afraid of what might happen. We want to invest massively in tackling the climate crisis. So these are our 3 major priorities.
Harun from Omni TV next.
Yes, Jigme J, almost 1/3 of NDP MPs are not running to re-elect this time. Also, you had struggled to find all the candidates for all the 338 ridings. Can you explain why?
Sure. I'll start with the 338 candidates. We have 338 candidates now nominated. We're ahead of the Liberals, so we've done a better job than the ruling party. Keep in mind, they're a ruling party, they're in government, and we have more nominated candidates than the Liberals. So this was kind of a story that was put out there, but now we're ahead of them, and no one's really writing that story. So we're ahead of them, and they're the majority. They're the ruling party. That's important to know. We also took time because I wanted to do things differently, and I'm proud of this. One of the things for me that was very important was we need to have more women involved in politics. And to do that, it takes more work, because the status quo is men are more reflected in politics, they're more represented in politics. It's easier to recruit men because they see themselves there. For women, it's harder. Women also have a lot of pressures around childcare. They have a lot of other concerns around whether they should run or not. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that the candidates I have running for me, the team that I have, represents Canada. So I can say with a lot of pride, we've actually record-breaking numbers. 49% of our candidates are women, so nearly half, which is a great success, better than any other party. Nearly 25% of our candidates are racialized, meaning they come from children of immigrants or immigrant families themselves, people who are racialized, which is a massive success to show a team that reflects what Canada looks like. We also have a massive number of candidates from the Indigenous communities, record number, almost 8%, which is another record-breaking result. We've got community members from the LGBTQ community. So our candidates, our team reflects what Canada looks like, and it took us long, but it's something I'm very proud of, and that's our results. And we're actually ahead of other parties, so it's a result. And in terms of your second part of your question?
You're 1/3 of MPs
Yes.
are not running to re-elect.
Yes, so I'll give you an example. In in Victoria, we had a very talented lawyer who was the MP, who stepped down to create space for a young woman who was a city councillor running. Now the MP, who was retired, is going to support the young woman who is a city councillor. She actually has in some ways more experience than the MP who didn't have any previous electoral experience. And he wanted to create space for a young woman now to come forward, and she's going to represent the riding. In the northern part of BC, we had Nathan Cullen, very well known. He stepped down, and now the mayor of one of the biggest cities in that community is running as a candidate. So we've got the support of a veteran and the mayor of one of the major cities who's now running as our candidate. In Hamilton, for example, we had Mr. I can't remember his name right now. Is David Christofferson, who was a veteran for municipal, provincial, and federal politics, was in politics for a long time and said, listen, I've done my duty, I want to now pass on. And he passed on the torch to a young racialized man, Matt Green, who's a city councillor, black man, who's running, and he's going to carry on the torch. So we actually see this as a strength. We're bringing in young, amazing talent, rising stars who have different electoral experience, who are being supported by the veterans, and they're creating space for young people to come forward. I think that's a good thing.
Canada is a country of immigrants.
Only good to you.
Now it's my
Yeah,
turn. Okay. You're after me. This is about
I wanted to
immigration.
support the elders.
Definitely. You can do that.
No, it's okay.
Canada is a country of immigrants. Everybody is an immigrant here. Talking about the immigration, the Liberals, they opened the door for students, for the family reunification, and then for the point systems and so on. There are a lot of immigrants here. Conservatives, when they come, they want to stop it a bit. They want to restructure it. I just want to know what's the take of NDP and Jigme Singh's on that, and point to the B part of this immigration.
I like everyone losing.
Question is, when the immigrants comes from other countries, they have their own culture, their own religion, and their own language. When they come to Canada, it's good, but sometimes there's a clash between the Canadians and the people those are coming here. New people, when they come to Canada as a new immigrant, should there be any training that when they come to Canada, this is the system, they have to live within this box, or they can live whatever they want? And some people, they don't like their own style of living in Canada. What's your take on it?
Sure. I can do 1 and 2. So with immigration, we need immigrants. We need immigration. It's very important for our economy. It's very important for our country. So we have a strong stance in favor of immigration. I would correct one thing. Mr. Trudeau did not open up immigration for family reunification. He put in a cap system, which meant just last year, in only a couple of minutes, all the available seats were exhausted. So people who are permanent residents and citizens who want to bring their family, bring their mom and dad, bring their parents, only had a couple of minutes to make that application. And when the cap was met, which only took some minutes, they no longer had a chance to reunify their family. That to me is wrong. That's not the way to show people dignity and respect who've chosen to make Canada their home. So I would get rid of the cap system and have a system in place that continually processes all the applications that are made and ensures that people are applying, and then there are applications that are being processed, and we continue to do that without having a cap system that means only a couple minutes worth of time is given to people to reunite their families. I think that's wrong. With students, quick thing on students, I think that students should be, they study here, they come here internationally, and they come here and they learn and they get educated in Canada. We should make an easier path for the people who choose to get education in Canada to then become a permanent resident and a citizen. I think that would make sense, to give some credit for the fact that they're getting educated here. And with respect to Canadians or new people coming to Canada, I think it's beautiful that people come here with their identity and their culture and where they come from. I think that's a beautiful thing. Everyone wants to learn how to work together. And I think, of course, we should provide services so people can learn how to work with the people around them, language courses, learning how to set up bank accounts, and just learning how to integrate. It's important, but I think it's absolutely crucial that people keep their identity, keep who they are. That is a beautiful thing, and they can learn how to work within the Canadian structure. They should have the skills and tools to do that, but should still feel proud that they can keep their identity and who they are.
ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ
Go ahead. Sorry. Now I'll come back to you, buddy.
Vinay is from Time of Canada.
Ji.
And me, Chaudhary, from Canada time.
Oh, I see. Contrast.
Time is there.
And my question is on, first he was asked about the immigration.
Ji.
That, I have my, your jurisdiction portfolio of Federal Liberal Party mainly is immigration, defense and foreign policy. I have my major question. Regarding immigration, he elaborated in detail, but my concern is that why not this should be distributed in among the provinces, so that one province should not get all the burden. Now BC is being saturated with this sort of immigration of students coming over here, and the impact is going to the common residents. They are not getting jobs, the student getting a job with low wages. The second thing is the rental issue. It's a great issue in province here BC. The students should go in the other provinces. So your provinces and center, they should sit together and they should make a outline that how many students should go in the other provinces. So that other provinces should also absorb this burden. One suggestion. The second is
question karo, suggestion.
No. The question is that how would you
Go ahead.
second, by defense to minimize the defense expenditures? What is your policy? And
Okay.
third is for foreign policy. Because what is your idea about making a restoration of your Canada and Saudi Arabia relations? How it comes, and what is your relation with the China? That
Sure.
China is now in the border.
We have an 8-part question, but
Yes,
this is
America.
complicated.
You
Okay.
can
Multiple
skip
choice.
one or two of them.
I don't think students are a burden. I think students are great for the economy. All the evidence shows that they're actually a boon to the economy. They create opportunities. I think there should be a good connection between the opportunities that exist in other provinces, so that students see that there's other options out there. There's other jobs that are available. Sometimes with immigration, people aren't better connected with. There might be jobs in more rural communities or in communities away from the urban center, and I think that that's a mistake where people don't know that there's options available, and maybe they want to choose that. So there's a lack of communication. I agree that we need to make that better. With defense, we need to make sure that we adequately fund the men and women that serve our country, so they're able to do their job, and they should be supported. Veterans have to be supported, and those are my priorities, that those who've served should be given respect and dignity, and the people who are serving now should be able to have the adequate equipment and training to do their jobs. And then with foreign policy, I think the selling of weapons to Saudi Arabia is wrong. Saudi Arabia is a country that is implicated in the murder of a journalist. They have horrible human rights violations of their own citizens, and they're killing the people of Yemen. For these three reasons, I would not sell weapons to Saudi Arabia and call them out on their human rights violation. With China, there's been an inconsistent policy between Canada and China under Mr. Trudeau. That's created some friction with the ambassador to China and the Prime Minister saying different things has also created confusion. And then the lack of an ambassador for a period of time has also been a problem. I would have a clear and consistent approach to China. It's a massive world power. We need to make sure we take the relationship seriously.
Last question from Gurpreet Sir.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ
ਮੈਂ
ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਸੋਚਿਆ
ਜਵਾਬ
ਆਪਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰਾਂਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਸਵਾਲ
ਤਾਂ
ਪੁੱਛਣਗੇ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 15ਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਮਨਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ 14 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ 29 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੱਕ ਇੰਪਰੂਵ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸੋ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚਾਂਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਲਾਈਮੇਟ ਚੇਂਜ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੇ
ਜੀ।
ਪਾਈਪਲਾਈਨ ਬਾਰੇ
ਜੀ।
ਇਹ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਮਾਊਂਟਨ ਪਾਈਪਲਾਈਨ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ
ਜੀ।
ਉੱਤੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਆ
ਜੀ।
ਲੋਕਲ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ
ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਜੋ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਦੇ ਖਤਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦਾ ਤੇਲ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਾਇਲੂਟਡ ਬਿਟੂਮਨ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਿਸਮ ਦਾ ਤੇਲ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਕਦੇ ਰੱਬ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ ਪਰ ਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਓਇਲ ਸਪਿਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਉਹ ਤੇਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਡੁੱਬਦਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਉੱਪਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਥੱਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਪੂਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਸਾਰਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੋਸਟਲਾਈਨ ਦਾ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਇੱਕ ਓਇਲ ਸਪਿਲ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰਾ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜੋ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਦਾ 700% ਵੱਧ ਟੈਂਕਰ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕੋਸਟਲਾਈਨ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਆ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੂਲ ਨਿਵਾਸੀ ਲੋਕ ਹੈਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੰਡੀਜਨਸ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੱਕ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਵਾਰ-ਵਾਰ ਉਹ ਕਚਹਿਰੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਚਹਿਰੀ 'ਚ ਜਿੱਤ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੱਕ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਉਹਦੇ ਰੁਕਾਵਟ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ 2 ਦਿਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇਖੇ, ਮਿਲੀਅਨਸ ਬੱਚੇ ਸੜਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਸੀਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਉਹ ਡਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਮਾੜਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਊਗਾ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਮੁੱਖ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਕਿ ਇੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਆਪਾਂ ਧਿਆਨ ਅਤੇ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਦੀ ਰਾਖੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੌਕਰੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਵੱਡਾ ਮਸਲਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਟੈਕਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਨੌਕਰੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ 3 ਲੱਖ ਨਵੇਂ ਨੌਕਰੀਆਂ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਸ ਲੜਾਈ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਨ ਦੀ ਰਾਖੀ ਕਰੀਏ।
Jagmeet Singh, why do you want US President Donald Trump to be impeached? Is it a joke or are you serious about it?
I am serious.
ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਇੱਕ ਵੇਕਅਪ ਸਰੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਤਿਆਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਗ੍ਰਾਸ ਰੂਟ ਮੂਵਮੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਦੀ, ਤੇ ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣਾ। ਇਹਨੂੰ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਾਲ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਓ ਤੇ ਸਰੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਨੀਡਸ ਕੀ ਆ, ਵਾਟ ਦਾ ਸਰੀ ਇਜ਼ ਲੁਕਿੰਗ ਫॉर ਕਿ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਸੇਫਟੀ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਐਂਡ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਿਓ।
ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜੀ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
Thank you ਜੀ।
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.